Hi, guys. Hello. Thank you for coming. You guys are amazing. Thank you for coming, seriously. Without you, this doesn't happen, so I appreciate it. If you guys have any questions on After Effects or drones or whatever it is, shoot me an email. That was my real email address in there before, so I'd love to hear from you, and I would answer your question. I was just telling people that hardly anybody emails. Seriously, hardly anybody does. So if you do, you better believe I'm going to answer it. So, all right? Let's get us started here. I think it warmed up a little bit. So, you know, it was really cold before, but I'm feeling good now, you know? So we are going to not do we're going to forego the calisthenics I had in mind. So, all righty, so welcome to After Effects for Designers. Just so that I get a feel of the room, who here has opened After Effects? All right, of those of you who have opened After Effects, how many of you have actually done something in After Effects? Oh, that's amazing. That's really good. Okay, let me rephrase the question. How many of you opened After Effects for the first time, looked at the interface and said, nah, and closed it never to open it again? There you go. So this class, this session, is actually meant to get you familiar with After Effects. It's meant to lose that fear of the interface, that fear of the unknown, because quite frankly, After Effects doesn't look like any of the other Adobe programs. It's not intuitive. It's like, what the heck? What's going on, right? So using the tools that you are familiar with, we are going to try to get over that initial hump to get you started with After Effects. All right? Let's do it. All right, first things first. In After Effects, we import assets into the project panel. We are not going to import anything right yet, but if we were to import a logo or video or whatever, we would bring it into the project panel simply by going File, Import. Easy peasy. In After Effects, we also work in compositions. So if you work in Premiere Pro they're called sequences. In After Effects, they're called compositions. In Photoshop, they're called timelines. So whatever. They're just that horizontal thingy where you do thingies and things happen. So we're going to create a composition. By the way, it's called a composition because After Effects is a compositing program. All right? So that's why it's called a composition. So we're just going to go. I need my glasses. I want to pretend I don't, but I really do. So composition, new composition. Right? So notice the shortcut. It's just Command-N, Control-N on Windows, right? And this comes up. Always name your composition. You know, the name Comp1 is a bad name. It's like naming your layers in Photoshop. Layer 1, Layer 2, Layer 3, right? It's like useless. So let's name it. I'm going to give it the very cool name of first, whatever. And there's a whole bunch of presets here that you can use. In here, we're going to get width and height. So we're going to get a frame size. And we also need to get a frame rate. As you already probably know, there is no such thing as anything that moves on the screen. Nothing moves. We don't have the technology for that. We never did. The only technology that we have is to play stills at a certain speed. That's known as a frame rate. The mind connects it, and it gives us the illusion of movement. But nothing really moves, right? So in here, I am going to use HD, so 1920 by 1080, and I'm going to use NTSC, which is broadcast for the US, which goes at a frame rate of 29.97 frames per second. If you want to know why that is 29.97 and not 30, shoot me an email or see me during one of the parties, and over cocktails, I'll let you know all about that. All right, so when we're good with this, I'm just going to click OK. And now we have, in the timeline, we have the composition, which is empty. And we have this comp panel that is showing us black right now. This is not black. This is transparent. And, you know, in Photoshop, we are very used to that checkerboard pattern. In motion graphics, if you leave that on the whole time, oh my God, it's going to drive you bananas. So we usually turn it off until we want to make sure that something is working, or if you get a black stroke around something, then you want to see it, then you would turn on the checkerboard pattern. But know that this is indeed transparent. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to create a shape that we're going to animate. And to do this, we use tools that are very familiar to those in Photoshop or Illustrator, right? So let me just start by going here in the Tools panel. And I'm going to click on this guy. You already know by working in other Adobe programs that every single tool that has a little wedgie thingy next to it means that if you click and hold, other tools appear, right? So I'm going to go for a star. Why not, right? Before I even draw it, I see here a fill and I see a stroke. I don't want a stroke, so I'm going to shut it off. And I'm just going to draw the star. Like in other Adobe programs, the trick to creating really the shape that you want is to leave the mouse button down until you're happy with it. So my mouse button is still down. I'm going to make this smaller. I'm going to press and hold Command. See it? My mouse button is still down. Up arrow. Right arrow. Left arrow. Making sense? And that works with things other than the star, right? So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. And let's just say that I want to animate this star just rotating, right? And if you look at this star, now a red flower, right? You're going to see that the anchor point, in other words, the point of origin for transformation is not in the middle. That's going to constitute a problem for me if I start rotating. That's not what I want. By the way, in After Effects, in Photoshop and InDesign, Illustrator, pretty much anywhere, your best friend is undo. Command Z. Love it. Please don't click on Edit, then Undo. Oh, that takes too long. Command Z. Command Z. Come on now. So there are several things that you can do to help this. You could grab the Anchor Point tool, which is this guy, and you could manually move the anchor point to the middle. You could do that, but that's too hard. You can also press and hold the Command key and double-click the tool. That puts the anchor point in the middle. But you know what's even better? If you go to the Preferences. Come on. And you tell it to always center it. Why that's not on is beyond me. It's like in Illustrator, the preview button is always off. Have you noticed that? It's like, what the heck? Let me be nice. What the heck? Like, when would I make a change and not want to see what it's doing? So anyway, now, if I draw any shape, look at the anchor point. It's not in the middle. Now it is. As soon as I finish drawing, boom, it's in the middle. So now you know that the point of origin for these type of transformations is the anchor point. And that's not any different than what you already know from Photoshop, from Illustrator, blah, 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 right? So let's talk about animation. I'm thinking that we can move this thing from left to right. And this is when we start talking about keyframing, right? A keyframe it's a term that was coined by, I believe, Walt Disney, where you would draw all of the animations cell by cell, right? So you would have master animators, right, writing the key or drawing the key frames. Say Mickey Mouse like this, and then Mickey Mouse like this, right? 2. And then those 2 keyframes would be given to the assistant animators who would then draw every single frame. Does that make sense? We are the master animators. We need to only give After Effects the keyframes, and then everything else is taken care of by the minions inside of After Effects working. So here we go. If I expand this, and I go under Transform, in After Effects, we have a constant of what transformation is. It's always the same, no matter what the layer is. If the layer contains pixels, Transform will always be anchor point position, scale, rotation, and opacity. Always. You can't change it. You wouldn't want to change it, but that's a constant. And there are shortcuts that you can use to solo these properties. A for anchor point, P for position, R for rotation, S for scale. Opacity is T. Because O is traditionally in video editing the out point. Not only that, but opacity used to be called transparency. So T for opacity. And here we go. Let's say position. I am the master animator, so I want to give After Effects 2 keyframes so that After Effects interpolates between one and the next one. And I cannot stress enough how important this is, because everything in After Effects that is keyframeable exactly this way. It never changes. It's always the same. You know how to keyframe one, you know how to keyframe them all. So pretty easy, right? I'm thinking. And here we go. With the selection tool. And by the way, this is one of the few, if not the only, shortcut in Adobe World that is consistent between all the different applications. The letter V for the selection tool, the move tool, right? So the letter V. And I always say, you know, you should always have the selection tool active, unless, of course, you need another tool. And then when you're done with the other tool, boom, press the letter V and go back to your selection tool. You know, otherwise you start making masks where you don't want, and yeah, it's a mess. All right, so here we go, selection tool. I'm going to move this guy on the left. And I am going to keyframe position. But this is the thing. To the left of the word position, we see a little stopwatch. This stopwatch does not really add the keyframe. So I know it's confusing because when you click there, a keyframe gets added. So I mean, what is she talking about? What the stopwatch is really doing is that it's saying, hey, animation is now possible. Changes in time are now possible. And by the way, here's a keyframe to help you get started. See what I mean? So if you click here, it becomes blue. Blue means active, right? And we see a little diamond-shaped thingy where the playhead is. And I should say when the playhead is, because it's not where as in space, it's when in time. So I've been teaching After Effects for a long time, and this is the #1 mistake that people make. Number 1, you need 2 keyframes in order to have animation, right? The beginning and the end, right? You can have a lot more, but you need a minimum of 2. So people set 1 keyframe. They don't move the playhead in time. They change the value of whatever they're keyframing, and then wonder why animation is not happening. Because you got 1 keyframe, right? So when you're keyframing, the first thing is when. When is the first thing? In other words, the playhead. When at the beginning. When right here at 4 seconds, right? When first, then what? When what? Every single property in After Effects is keyframed in exactly the same way. Trust me on that. It might look very complicated. It might look, this is it. When, what? Done. I know. All right, so here we go. La, 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 la. That's just beautiful. Gorgeous, really, right? You have the 2 keyframes, and After Effects interpolates between the first keyframe and the second keyframe. All right, but what if I want to put one in the middle? When first. Always when, then what? Making sense? So now, one of the reasons why I did this is because I want you to see the handles. What tool gives you handles? The pen tool. That's exactly it. And we have different types of interpolation in After Effects. And remember, it's not just where it is, it's when it is, right? So we have spatial interpolation, where, and then we have temporal interpolation, which is when. And you could say, wait a minute, Luisa, that is insane. If it's moving in space, it's doing so in time. And I would agree with you. I would say, of course. But not everything that changes in time changes in space. Opacity, for example. I can make something invisible, and it ain't moving. So After Effects makes a very clear distinction between spatial interpolation and temporal interpolation. All right? And they both use handles. So here we go. This is spatial interpolation. Continuous Bezier. Making sense? Non-continuous Bezier. You are already all familiar with that, right? Linear. 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 No curves. Linear. Corners, right? Corners. Or curves. Right? I am sure all of you are familiar with that. It's the same here, except we're talking about where it is. Does that make sense? All right, so here we go. I'm going to delete these keyframes, and I'm going to start anew. Left and right. I'm going to maximize this. And now I'm going to show you that the path between point A and point B is made out of dots. And now I'm going to sound like Sesame Street. One of these dots doesn't look like the others. I'm very shy. I'm extremely shy. That's because it's a handle. Making sense? 2 keyframes, only 2 keyframes, and yet we are moving from point A to point B not in a straight line. All right? So now let's talk a little bit about the hard interpolation, which is temporal. Left, right. Dots, 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 dots. Each and every dot represents a frame. Closer together dots means it's moving slower. Farther apart dots means it's moving faster. Right now, all of those points are equidistant, meaning that my speed is starting, it's continuing the same, and then it's stopping. Nothing in nature moves like that. There is always a fluidity to all motions that we see and that we make. There's an acceleration and a deceleration that happens naturally. Leaving the temporal interpolation, this is now an analogy, as linear, which is what this is the equivalent of not kerning your text. I can smell an amateur a million miles away. And so can you. You just go, oh my God, how could they let that go? So I see the same thing, but when it comes to interpolation. It's like, oh my God, how could they let that go? So there is a gradual acceleration and deceleration that you can have in your keyframes simply by selecting the keyframes. If you click on the word of whatever property has the keyframes, in this case, position, it selects all of the keyframes. That's not too bad, you know? Right now we have 2, so it's kind of stupid, but it's not out of the realm of possibility to have 200, 500, 1,000. You click on the word position and you select them all. Then press F9, and this is what happens. The shape of the keyframe changes to that of an hourglass, meaning, hey, you messed with time. And even if you can't quite see it, closer together dots, farther, 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 closer together dots here at the end. If I were to play this, you would notice a very gradual acceleration and then deceleration. This is known as easy ease. And quite frankly, that is the bare minimum that you should be doing with your animations. You know, kind of like an auto kerning. You know what I'm saying. All right, so where can you see this interpolation? Again, I want to make sure that we notice that all of these things are very much familiar with what the pen tool has to offer us. It's called the graph editor. In the graph editor, I can look at the value graph. Notice that one line is not moving. I mean, one line is not going up or down. And the other line has a little, nice S-curve. Those are the X and the Y values for position. It didn't go up and down at all. So that value never changed. Only the X value changed, and it has an acceleration and a deceleration, and that's why you see that S-curve. In addition to seeing those values, you can look at the speed graph. If you click there, that is a graphical representation of the speed, in this case measured in pixels per second. Start slow, the higher the curve, the faster it's going, right? And this is the thing, you don't have to leave it like that. You can click, see, handles again. What's that going to do? Let's find out. Yeah, I didn't like that. I did not enjoy that. Ooh, let's do something crazy. Making sense? You are in charge of how the interpolation is working, not just where, but when. So let me give you a different example. Again, this is using the tools that you're familiar with. Let me just create a rectangle. See, anchor point gets centered, happiness and joy. You know, it's like, yeah, baby. Okay, so I'm going to rotate this. And by the way, the minus key lets you zoom out. The plus key lets you zoom in. And I'm going to rotate this, say, 10 times. Now I have 2 keyframes, and this is going to be a linear interpolation, right? It's just doing its thing. Okay. I'm going to select these guys. I'm going to F9 it, right? Easy ease. And now I'm going to go into my graph editor. This time, I'm going to look at my value graph. So it starts with a rotation of 0, and then it goes to 10 times, right? So far, so good? 10 times. Okay. Yeah, go a lot more. Oh, yeah. What's it going to do now? Let's see. Backwards, forwards. I want you to notice that we only have 2 keyframes. We don't have any more. 2. But we are playing with the values in a graphical way, just like we would change something in Illustrator or in Photoshop. Did that make sense? Oh, by the way, that looks very crappy. Crappy is a technical term, I gotta tell you. You see this guy? Let's give him motion blur. And that is mo better. You know? It just looks more natural. We're used to seeing the motion blur of the camera. So turning it on makes a huge difference in the quality of what you are exporting. All right? Okay, so let's go on and let's talk a little bit about masks. Okay. So if I create a solid, and by the way, I'm not going to cheat you out of this one. Layer, new, solid, right? And I'm going to make it 1920 by 1080, and I'm just going to, you're familiar with the pen tool. I'm not going to teach you the pen tool, right? So I'm just going to do something stupid like click, 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 click. I did not click and drag, so I don't get handles, right? Linear, 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 corner, corner, corner. Okay. Now I'm going to create a little square. All right. P for position, right? M for mask. M for mask. By the way, After Effects calls it a mask, even if there is no transparency associated with it. So this is an open path, but it's still called a mask. So a mask is a path is a mask, whatever. I know, right? Click on the words mask path and copy. Click on the word position and paste. Using the tools that you know already, you can draw your path. You can just draw it. And let me tell you, who is the master at paths if it's not Illustrator, right? So I'm opening Illustrator. I'm just going to create something new, say print, it doesn't really matter. And there you go. So, you know, I'm not going to teach you Illustrator because you guys are quite familiar with that. And if you're not, there are so many good sessions in this conference, I can't even begin to tell you. But did you know that Illustrator has a spiral tool? The trick is leaving the mouse button down until you're happy. Command. Up arrow. Ooh, me likey. Copy. Copy. Click on the word position and paste. Paste. I guess it ain't gonna paste. Oh, thank God. Do you know how hard that would be for me to do by hand? Oh my God, and I get it. It looks kind of dumb. But imagine the possibilities where you can animate anything that you want to animate by simply drawing what you want in Illustrator, in Photoshop, or in After Effects. Does that make sense? And all I did was copy and paste. That's it, right? So what else can we do with this? What can't we do with this? I mean, seriously. In Illustrator, for example. And here is where it's going to be painfully obvious to you how bad I am with a mouse. I mean, hello. Copy. Layer, new, solid. The color does not matter. Paste, right? Now I pasted a mask. I did not paste it onto the position keyframes of anything, right? Okay, M for mask. And I want to make it a little bit bigger. So what's free transform in Photoshop? Command T, right? Same here. Command T. I'm going to make this bigger. Oh, yeah. And now I'm going to add a stroke to this. Effect, generate, stroke. I'm just going to make it a little bit ridiculously large. And not on original image, but on transparent. So I can put this on top of anything I want. OK, fantastic. And see, transparent. All right. I want for that word to draw itself. It's After Effects. I mean, hello, that's what After Effects does. So we have in here a start and an end value. I'm going to change the value of end to 0, and notice that I already keyframed it. I already have the when. The when is the beginning. When, 4 seconds. When, and now what? Well, that was pretty crappy. The letter U solos the keyframes. And it's because I never went to 100%. So yeah, there you go. Oof, I've redeemed myself. All right, did that make sense? But we have a path. And paths turn into position keyframes, don't they? We just saw that. I'm going to draw me a stick. Something like that. And now I'm going to move that anchor point to be at the tip. Making sense? M for mask. and I'm going to copy the mask path. When first, move the playhead. Click on the stick. Let me rename it stick. And I'm going to change the position of the stick. Click on the word position and paste. And what you get is a stick that doesn't draw the text at all. So this is the thing about masks that I really want you to understand. Remember, After Effects is not just where, but when. So there are arts that are abstract, like a painting, a photograph is abstract. And then there are arts that live in time, like poetry, music, video, film. When you put something that is abstract, like a mask, into something that lives in time, After Effects has to give it a preset amount of time. And it always gives it 2 seconds, and you can't change it. So whenever I pasted that mask onto the position keyframes, the whole duration of the animation is 2 seconds. But the stroke animation wasn't 2 seconds. So of course, it'll never agree until you make it agree. The letter U shows the keyframes. And all you have to do is move this last keyframe to agree. So the first and last keyframes of the stroke effect agree with the first and last keyframes of the motion of the stick, and there is absolutely no way that that stick won't draw that each and every time. There is no way that's not going to happen. If the anchor point is where it needs to be, and you copied the right masks, you timed them right, done. And these things look really difficult. They are not. For example, I love Harry Potter. I know. That's so 10 years ago. I'm going to have a black solid. And I'm going to add a lens flare. Right? I have the position here, and it's even timed. And I'm going to paste it onto the position of that. See where I'm going? Blending modes in Photoshop and Illustrator, anyone? Right? Toggle, switches and modes. Change the blending mode to screen. And that's a magic wand no matter where you are. Does that make sense? Copy and paste. And by the way, that's a very rigid magic wand, so I'm not digging it. So R for rotation, I'm just going to rotate this a little bit so that it looks like it's doing something. You know? And I'm even going to F9 so that I get that. Doesn't that look better? A little bit more natural? All of this is copy and paste, right? Command C, Command V. And I have those position keyframes already. I'm thinking. How about pixie magic dust, right? Effect, simulation, particle playground. We all know pixie dust is yellow. I mean, come on. Yellow. Do you see how there's a position there? Oh, yeah. Copy. Keyframe and paste. I know, there's like 3 things. How about if instead of 60 particles per second, we have 800 or 900? Is this starting to make a little bit more sense? All of this is copy and paste. Copy and paste. Not everything in After Effects is copy and paste, right? And not everything in After Effects is easy. No. But this is. Making sense? And in fact, it's so easy that, I mean, I'm sick and tired of those YouTube things with a little finger thing. Have you seen them? Drawing this, oh, for crying out loud, and here I am teaching it. Right? So let's talk a little bit about text animation. You grab the type tool, hey, text box, click and drag, or just click and type or point text, right? We're good with that? This is not like Illustrator where you can change from one to the other. But hey, you know, who cares? I'm just going to write, this is my text, whatever. Just like in Photoshop, if you double-click the layer, the text is selected, everything is selected. And now here on the right, we see the character and the paragraph panels, where we can change all kinds of things, you know. You can change the font, you can change all of these things. And at this point, seriously, if you need help changing the font, you should rethink your life choices. I am very much a Verdana girl. I know, right? I know. And we're going to pretend that I did everything, the kerning, the leading, you know. Oh, I know, it's only one line, so what leading? But you know what I'm saying. We're pretending, only because I'm not going through that. We're talking about text animation. So let's start with text on a path. In Photoshop, you start with a path, and then you type the text on the path. In After Effects, you can't do that. In After Effects, you have to start with a layer and then draw the path, because if you don't have a layer and you draw a path, you just drew a shape layer. And that's not what we want. We want a path. So you type the text first, then you select the layer, and then you draw the path. Which, of course, now it's making the text transparent. Not what I wanted at all. But it's OK. I have a path now. We have 3 things under the text layer. We have text, the mask, and transform. We're not going to deal with transform, but we're going to deal with text. Path options. And look, we have the path option of none. I know, right? Once you choose the one and only mask that you have, a couple of things happen. The text snaps to the path, and you get 5 new properties in here. Most of these properties are self-explanatory. So reverse path, yeah, me thinketh easy. Perpendicular, yeah, ooh, look, backwards too. Force alignment, yeah. First margin, ooh, I know what I'm keyframing. And then last margin, which is doing nothing. The reason why that's doing nothing is because the default paragraph is left aligned. If this were center aligned or right aligned, then the last margin would do something, or both of them would do. Like with here, both of them would do something. Of course, I can also go and turn on the force alignment, and then I can make these guys scrunch. Oh, yeah. You can keyframe them both. When, what, and now, la, la. Select the keyframes, F9. Not too bad. Yeah, it's pathetically slow. It's like a geriatric thing. So let's move these keyframes closer together. And that's not too bad. See what I mean? So this is how you would do text on a path. You create the layer first, and then the text. OK. How about if I want to animate other things, like position? After Effects text layers are unlike any other layers. They are unique. They have ways of animate that other layers don't have. And in this case, we're going to add what are called animators. And the one that I want is for position, right? Now, you guys know that in Adobe World, 0, 0 is top left, right? Do you guys know why? It's a printing thing, right, where the paper starts from the top left margin, right? And since Adobe was for so many years a printing company, so they have kept that. 0, 0, top left. Is my text top left? Nope. So what gives, right? So this is the thing that I want you to understand about text animation, and every single text animation works the same way. Everything, position, rotation, scale that you get is given in relationship to transform. So right now, if the value of my animator is 0, 0, so 0 for X and 0 for Y, it simply means that my animator and my transform are in the same place. That's all it means. Did that make sense? All right. So I'm going to move this up a little bit to about yay. And now I want for the letters to start falling down one at a time. By the way, this is not self-explanatory at all. So if you find, this is just so you feel good about yourself. If you find that it's taking you a little bit to grasp this, join the club. It took me a long time, seriously. So there is something called a range selector that has 3 values. One is called start, which refers to a line that I haven't shown you that is all the way to the left of the word. End is a line all the way to the right of the word. The influence, if you will, of that effect, that position animator, only occurs in between the lines. The lines animate. If I move the lines, then some of the characters get the animation and some don't. When, what? When, what? So my start line, and I'm going to show you where the lines are now. See it right here? My start line is going to move from all the way to the left to all the way to the right. As it moves, the effect gets taken off the characters, and they have no choice but to go back to their default value. Did that make sense? So the lines absolutely move. I'm going to make this go a little bit faster. Select them both. F9. And there you go. To that, I can add a mask. Did that make sense? Of course, motion blur, blah, 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 blah. Every single text animation, including all the presets, and there are many that come with After Effects, work like this. So let's add one more. let's say rotation. And I'm going to add an animator, obviously, for rotation. And I'm just going to keyframe this a little bit, right? So going forward. You know, it would have helped had I clicked there. And then going back, copy, paste, 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 copy, paste. You get the drift, right? And here we go. All right. Okay, so I showed this to my client, and my client said, Luisa, I love it. The rotation of the text is just mwah. But can you make only the first R rotate? Oh, sure, no problem. Have you ever said that and you have no idea how you're going to do it? I do it all the time. I get myself into so much trouble. Then I go, oh, crap, how am I going to do this? So here we go, right? So there is a range selector. And as soon as I click on it, the lines become visible, right? Do you see my cursor changing? When it looks like that, I can move the line by clicking and dragging. And now, there you go, right? So only the first R. Oh, Luisa, that is gorgeous. What a wonderful animation. Yeah, right. I just go, oh, holy cow. Can you make the second T do the same thing? Sure. Sure. You can add another range selector. You can add as many as you want. When you add another range selector, you can now move the lines of that other range selector, and that's just a thing of beauty. All right? So, okay, all right, okay, fine. You know, let's do something different, right? In fact, I want to create animation without creating animation because I don't want to work. Right? So I'm going to add an animator here, maybe for color, which, by the way, it defaults to red. Do you guys remember when the stroke of Photoshop defaulted to red? Of course. Do you know why? So you could see it. Now it's black, and I can never see it. Seriously. I wish it went back to red. So it's the same with this, right? So I'll change it to whatever. You know, I'll change it to, oh, green. Who cares, right? I'm going to now add a wiggly selector. In After Effects, whenever you hear the word wiggly or wiggle, it always refers to the same thing. It refers to random values given to whatever property, in this case the color of the text, based on two parameters. Frequency, how often do you want for those values to change, and magnitude, how much do you want them to change? For example, I can just do this like really quickly, or this. How often, how much, right? And this is no exception. Oh, can you make it faster? Be careful with seizures. You know what I'm saying? And the answer is, of course. We have a wiggly selector. Wiggles per second, 2? Okay, fine. Let's have 20. Holy cow. Don't faint. Did that make sense? And that works with anything. For example, I can go to my animator and I can add, say, scale. Oh, this is going to be absolutely insane. I'm going to slow this sucker down. I can keep on adding, right? See, on the animator, add, oh, I don't know, let's say opacity. And let's bring this down to 0. No keyframes, but yes, yet it's changing. Did that make sense? So there are two things that I want you to remember when it comes to text. Everything that you know about typography still applies here. Everything. You animate based on animators, and the animators influence only the characters that are in between the lines of the range selector, period. If you know that, you know more than most After Effects users, because they just use presets for text and they go, I don't know how it works. All right? So let's talk a little bit about other things. How about real logos, real things that we can work on, right? How about, oh, let's bring in this Illustrator logo. This is a multi-layered Illustrator logo. I don't mean sub-layer, I mean layer, right? And because Adobe happens to work really well with Adobe, go figure, it actually recognizes that there are different layers from that Illustrator logo. Okay? In here, I can choose to bring them in as footage or as a composition. I want to bring it in as a composition, and I can choose whether my layers will be the size of the layer or the size of the whole document. What's the difference? The difference is really where the anchor point is. If you choose the size of the entire document, the anchor point of every single layer will be exactly in the middle of the whole composition. If you choose layer size, each and every anchor point is going to be in the middle of that particular layer. Which one do you want? I don't know. It depends on what you're doing. Sometimes you want one, sometimes you want the other. I'm going to choose layer size, and I'm going to click OK. Composition, multi-layered. Making sense? Oh, OK. So what can I do with this? Well, what can't you do? First things first, I'm going to change the composition settings, because trust me, the Illustrator logos that you get or you make never agree with the video that you're going to be exporting. So I'm just going to go to the composition settings and go back to 1920 by 1080. I can select all of my layers, right? Marquee select, there you go. And I can move them. I can now animate those so that they either appear, or I can mask them, or I can move them, or rotate them, or do whatever individually. So let's say I'm going to change the position. I can select all of these layers and press the letter P for position, and this is where I want it to end. So I'm going to keyframe backwards. I want this to end here. OK. When first, then what? All right? When first. OK, so it's ending there. And now I can just go boom, boom. OK, this is going to be super stupid, but whatever. I will at least F9 it so that I kind of sort of redeem myself. Oh, my God. Don't judge me. Oh, my God, this is beyond bad. At least let's have the pain last less time. There you go. But get the idea. You can do any of the animations. You can do any of the blending modes. You can do anything that After Effects does, because already the logo was separated into the different layers. All right? Okay, so what else can I do? Well, say it's the same logo. Same logo. And this time, I want to bring it in as footage. And I want to merge all the layers. Right? I'm going to create a composition, 1920 by 1080, and I'm going to drag this down. Right? Instead of now dealing with 4 layers, I'm dealing with 1. And I can do pretty much anything I want, right? I can animate this so that it comes down, say, just from there, and then it appears. Okay, let's do that. P for position. And in there, right? But I don't want it to appear until it's almost reaching where it needs to go. In other words, I want to mask this, right? So this goes into the understanding of how After Effects works. Okay, I'm going to mask this. My layer is selected, and I'm going to mask it. Oh, that's not what I wanted at all, right? This is how After Effects thinks. So this is very important. In the hierarchy of things, the mask is applied to the layer before the transform. So regardless of which one you did first or last, that's irrelevant. It's the rendering that matters. Because transform comes after the mask, you are also keyframing where the mask goes. So that's not going to work. Okay. Then what works, right? If that doesn't work, what works? 2 different things work. One of them is called nesting. Have you guys ever heard that word when it comes to After Effects or Premiere Pro? It's one composition inside of another, right? And this, all you have to do is select a layer, or layers, plural, and then go layer, pre-compose. I'm going to call it logo, and I'm going to move all attributes into the new composition. This is going to create a new composition. It's going to put this and its animation into the new composition, and it's going to bring the composition in here. So far, so good? Boom. This layer, hold on. Did I delete the keyframes? Of course I did. Can't trust me. Cannot trust me. By the way, notice that I double-clicked the composition and I'd opened the original one. Okay. This particular composition does not have keyframes. Therefore, this will work. Did that make sense? So there is one thing that I usually tell my After Effects students. When in doubt, if something is not working, pre-compose. Select a layer or layers and pre-compose. And 8 times out of 10, it's going to work. All right? OK. I have 15 minutes. That's a lifetime. Come on now. Let me bring something else. Let me bring in a Photoshop logo. Again, Photoshop, Adobe, works really well with Adobe. Hey, happiness and joy, it's recognizing the different layers. I'm going to bring it as composition, retain layer sizes. I didn't use any kind of layer styles, but if I had, just so that you know, you can still edit those layer styles regardless of which one you choose here. So, all right, click OK, double click, and here is my logo. Did it make sense how everything comes in? All right. So same thing. I can animate all of these things, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But this is text. Maybe I want to add this text animation. Yeah, but this is not a text layer. See how there is no text, there's nothing, right? I can right-click this layer, and I can convert it to editable text. So I can convert that to a text layer inside of After Effects. And because this is now a text layer inside of After Effects, all of my animators are available. Everything is available, which before it wasn't. Text, animate, voila. That only works with Photoshop, and obviously, whatever font was used, you gotta have it. Otherwise, yeah, it's gonna start replacing fonts, and well, maybe for a logo, that's not such a good thing. All right? Did that make sense? I'm going to bring in the same logo, but flattened. Photoshop logo, bring it as footage, merge all the layers, happiness and joy, and there you go. Now, I want to create like one of those shiny thingies that go across the logo, and it's like, I mean, it's just like coolness, right? I mean, that's what I want. And that shiny thingy is a stick. In fact, it's a white stick. There you go. White stick. Okay. In fact, I'm even going to name it white stick. P for position. I think I hit the delete key. And I'm going to rotate this a tiny little bit, like yay. P for position, right? And I'm going to start here, and I'm going to end here, right? Okay. Ain't that an attractive stick? That's what I'm talking about. I mean, you know, as far as stick goes, you know, pretty good looking stick. So I want to blur this a little bit, so I'm going to give it a Gaussian blur, only because the stick is a little too present, and I want to make it a little less present. So Effect, Blur and Sharpen, Gaussian blur. The Effect Controls panel opens up automatically. If it doesn't, it's like any other Adobe program. You go under the Window menu, and you choose Effect Controls. You know? So I'm going to blur it about. Yay. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, you know, as far as sticks go, an attractive stick. But I want to mask this stick so that it only appears where the logo is. If I wanted to do that in Photoshop, what is it called? A blank ipping mask. Clipping mask, right? Oh, okay. All right. Duplicate the layer, Command D. Put it above the other one. Put it above. So now we have like a very attractive, like white stick sandwich. I mean, right? That's high quality. That's what I'm saying. And then in here, the clipping mask inside of After Effects is called a track mat. And it can move. In this case, it won't, but it can move. See the Turk mat? I want the alpha mat of the Photoshop logo. The alpha. I could have chosen the Luma, but in this case, I don't need to. The alpha, the transparency, that's going to do it for me. Did that make sense? I know. So all those cool sheens, they're sticks. I mean, seriously. And of course, my stick as attractive as it is, it's moving kind of slow, and I didn't give it a different speed, and blah, blah, blah. But you get the idea. It's the same logo, duplicate it, put it on top, change the track mat, you're done. I know. All right, let's do one more thing. Oh, I have 5 minutes. La, la, la. Oh, let's do the vines. Why not? Let me bring it as a composition. Layer size is good. Here are the vines. Oops. What did I do? Why am I hiding all these things? Thank you. I was worried there for a minute. Not really. OK, so here we go. Vines, 1920 by 1080. I'm going to make all of these guys 3D. All of them, 3D. So do you see these? These are called the switches. Oh, by the way, this guy is super important. Look at the name of this tool. Collapse transformations for vector layer continuously rasterized, which is like, huh? Let me just show you this. I'm going to make this like super large. This is a vector file, and vector files don't lose resolution because they're not made out of pixels, right? Ahem. Right? So this is the thing. This is how After Effects thinks. If you see it, it's not vector. You can't see vector. These computers only display pixels. If you see it, it's raster. After Effects rasterizes it at 100% scale, and when you scale it, you're scaling the raster and not the vector. You need to say, After Effects, excuse me, but no. Yeah, that's the name of the layer. I'd rather call it the little sunshine. This little light of mine, almost always let it shine. Look at this. Boom. Making sense? So yeah, why that's not checked by default, beyond me, but whatever. All right, so I'm going to make all of these guys 3D. I'm going to add a solid. I'll make it white just for good measure. And I'm going to make that solid 3D. I'm going to make that solid much larger. I'm going to select everybody and P for position. And I'm going to give these guys different Z values. So X, Y, and Z. So you can see that they're just like little Illustrator vine things, right? OK. I'm going to add a light. Layer, new, light. Oh, they're ahead of me. Can't have that. See it? By default, layers in After Effects do not cast shadows because they take a lot of your GPU power. So you need to enable that. You select all of your layers and you press the letter A twice. Cast shadows on. See it? I know, it's a little too much, right? So I don't want that. I'm going to select everybody and collapse it. And by the way, the light controls the darkness of the shadow and the diffusion of the shadow. Right? Now, I can take all of these layers and group them through something called parenting. I'm going to create a null object, which is a layer of nothingness. I'm going to select all of these layers, and I'm going to parent them. Making sense? And I can animate that. And it animates the whole universe rather than animating the camera. If you are going to be dealing with 3D in After Effects, Animating the camera is difficult. Don't. Animate the universe around you. It's easier. You know, you're sitting down and you say, okay, universe, move. And it does, and it's better, right? Eventually, when you get more experience, then animate the camera, animate the depth of field, animate all kinds of things. And by the way, the color of the light can change. And can be animated. All right? Okay, so I think I have to stop. But if you guys have any questions, seriously, shoot me an email. I have some cards if you want to take it, although I put my email in there before. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.